Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse podcast. This is episode number 322. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going all right.
Springtime.
Yeah, spring is in the air.
Love it. So happy.
Yeah, it's been really nice. It was a little cold yesterday because the rain came in here in New York.
Okay,
So it's a little cold.
We had some downpours, and man, the sun came out and it got hot.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
This week on the show, we'll be taking a look at Wanuri Kahiu's Rafiki. We'll also be taking a look at someone we're watching on the watch list, going over this week's new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you can support Film Pulse on Patreon at patreon.com/filmpulse for just $1 a month. Also, please consider reviewing us on iTunes, as that is extremely helpful to us. A couple things at the top of the show here. New episode of Saved by the 90s is out now. We talk about action films released in April throughout the decade, with such classics as Toy Soldiers, Surviving the Game, Bad Boys, and The Big Hit. Let me tell you, The Big Hit.
Yeah.
You'll have to listen to the show for my extended thoughts. But wow, is that movie horrible? It is offensively bad. And I remember liking it as a youth.
Is that the one with Bokeem Woodbine?
Yeah. Yep. It is. It is. It's so horrible.
I love it.
For those of you who prefer to consume your podcasts on YouTube, I'm going to be publishing the show on YouTube, starting with this episode. This is something we did in the past, but I haven't done it for quite a long time and decided to start doing it again. So check out our YouTube channel where you'll find all of our podcasts along with trailers and clips and things like that I will occasionally post up on there. The Saved by the 90s has been like we published up to last October, and I'm starting to roll out the past episodes of that as well. So the older episodes of that are going to be rolling out week to week.
Just a reminder that YouTube is trash.
It is often a toxic wasteland, but I understand that a lot of people use it for podcasts and things. So I just figured I'll start uploading them there again as just another outlet for people, because I know some people don't really have a preferred platform. A lot of people like to just listen on their computers and stuff. So just giving that as another outlet.
All right.
Finally, I'll be heading to Tribeca this year. It starts this week. So if you're going to be at Tribeca and want to say hi, shoot me a DM at FilmPulseNet. Let me know what you're looking forward to this year. I'll be mingling around there for the next 10 days or so.
Mingling. Reluctantly.
Yeah, well, I guess mingling is not correct. I'd say just wandering around. Just wandering. Awkwardly wandering around.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a more accurate description.
I can visualize it right now.
Awkwardly avoiding all human contact.
Just head on a swivel, just looking around. Try to figure things out.
Yeah. Let's hop into our review, shall we? We're talking about Rafiki. I have a synopsis here. Good Kenyan girls become good Kenyan wives, but Kenna and Ziki long for something more. When love blossoms between them, the two girls will be forced to choose between happiness and safety. Kevin, you were excited about this one. This was your pick.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of Rafiki?
It didn't let me down. I enjoyed it. It feels like I've been waiting for this movie for quite some time, to be honest, which seems to happen a lot, really. I mean, I think we've talked about this a couple of times when we do the most anticipated. A lot of my when we do the most anticipated back in January, a lot of it's just holdover from the previous year's episode. So finally got this one right, and I think the thing that got me first excited for this initially was the kind of like the posters and stuff where it's very vibrant, great
Hmm.
colors, and just I don't know, I like the design of everything, right?
The film itself reflects that too. This
Yeah,
movie is just bathed in color. I love the colors of this movie.
yeah, and even the outset, the credits, the opening credits of this movie. You know,
Loved it.
like the collage work, all the colors, the music.
Hmm.
Oh man, just got me pumped.
You don't see credits like that too much these days.
Mm-mm.
They feel very classic. The credits where it's like its own thing where you have these sort of uh they're set apart. They're not, these days usually opening credits happen during the opening scene. Uh, This is like its own dedicated thing. It feels very reminiscent of how they used to do it in the 80s and 90s and previous decades.
Yeah, and you just get creative with it because I loved all the like the collage artwork that popped up throughout, and then getting into the movie, yeah, like I said, the colors. Oh man, oh boy, just bright. Just love it. And I thought the performances were pretty fantastic. I think the only thing that I had a little bit of an issue with, which didn't really derail the film um, from its central storyline, is there were a lot of like these little subplots, these
Hmm.
little secondary things, and it just seemed like it was a tad bit overloaded with that.
Yeah, a little bit like the how her father remarry. Did he remarry or just have a girlfriend? I
Yeah,
can't remember.
he remarried. His new wife is pregnant. He's also running for office. There's also everything going on with Blacksta, where like
Hmm.
he's involved with like a woman that runs a kiosk that her mother owns, and then he's also trying to get Kenna like to be his wife. And then they keep hounding the one gay guy that lives in the village, and like it's all these little things.
Yeah, and then there's like the whole, because her Kenna's father also runs a store, so that's a thing that is happening throughout as well, especially when it's discovered that Kenna is gay, and she ends up developing a relationship with Zeke, who her father is running against Kenna's father for office.
Yeah, which
And
you already have from the outset. Just the two of those really shouldn't be together, even just in on friendly terms. Because their fathers are opponents and they're from different classes. So you already have that, and then to mix in, the fact that they actually have romantic feelings for one another.
yeah, and I think that it should be noted this was banned in Kenya where it was shot. And
Yeah,
this is still a really hot button issue there. Homosexuality is, I think it's illegal there actually.
yeah. And the interesting thing reading about why this film was banned is not necessarily because of, any sexual imagery or anything in the movie. It's just that they thought that the ending was too hopeful and that it promoted homosexuality. So, like if this movie would have ended terribly for the main characters, like would maybe Kenya would be okay with it, which is That's something else entirely.
Yeah, something very bad happens to them at one point. So I think if they ended it there,
Yeah, I
then maybe
think.
Kenya would have been fine with it. But
Yeah, I'm guessing that the Kenyan government, that's their favorite part of this movie. Would be my
yeah,
guess. But it
I
does. I thought it was interesting that it does seem like, okay, you do have Blackstone and his friend. You know, they're pretty awful to the gay guy, who just kind of like shows up occasionally and doesn't really do much outside of just like walking through.
yeah, but it also seemed like Blackstone was a little like he didn't necessarily want to take part in the bullying that was taking place. At least
Yeah, it
that's
was.
that. It seemed like he was reluctant to do that
Yeah, I think it was more so the other guy. But even
because he also gives him a ride at one point too. So he is friendly with the guy.
yeah, and I think that it does show for the most part before they're found out. It never really came across that maybe outside of Black's friend that anyone was really against it, against homosexuality, against gay people, and it seemed like once they were found out, it almost seemed like they were just doing it kind of like out of obligation, like they felt that they had to.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, especially what happens with them, they just turn on them so quickly. I mean, in one moment they are, friends to everyone in the whole town, right? Like
Yeah,
they're well respected. They everyone likes them, and then all of a sudden everyone turns on them and they're like completely ostracized and demonized
yeah,
for what they did.
and I think the initial, I think the way that they set up the kind of like before they actually became a couple, kind of where they had this like longing for one another. I think the performances were really great in the way that they did that, because a lot of it's just really like glances.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just that they were just looking at each other, but you could
Yeah.
tell everything through that.
Mm.
They conveyed a lot just through glances, and I really liked one decision that they made. When they would have Kenna and Zeke together in a couple of scenes. Where
Yeah.
they finally get to have these quiet moments
I know what you're
together.
going to say, but
Yeah, where they have like there's the dialogue,
mm-hmm.
but they're not talking,
Yeah.
kind of like to represent how like they can't really speak.
Yep.
This can't be out in the open. I thought that was a really interesting way to do that. It's a small thing.
Yeah, they do it like 3 or 4 times throughout the movie, and I think that it was a really effective way to convey that. I thought that
Yeah.
that worked tremendously well. Yeah, I really enjoyed this overall. I think that it's an important film because I think that it's easy for people to, especially people in the United States, to live in this sort of bubble and think that I mean, as much progress has been made with tolerance, I think that it's important to remember that there are so many other countries that are not there yet, not even
Yeah.
close to being there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it was because the bad thing that does happen. I was a little bit worried there because I was like, please don't be that movie. Please don't be ending with
Yeah,
I wanted it to end with joy instead.
right.
Uplift.
Yeah, we didn't want like a boys don't cry
Yeah.
situation happening. I was a little concerned for that too, but I was also just shocked at how their friends could do that to them, like
So quickly. Too.
and also like Zeke's father, like what he does too, just so awful. And then I really did like Kenna's father. I thought that the way that he supported her, even though he knew this was gonna ruin him. I mean, it did ruin him. Like nobody shopped at the store anymore. He had to drop out of the race that he was in for office. And I'm not sure what they were running for. It was like UHD or something. Something like
Yeah.
that. I'm not sure what position that was, but it completely ruined him.
Yeah.
but he was still like, he didn't hold that against her or anything.
Yeah, he was really the only one that was kind of supportive of her in his own way.
Yeah, and he knew he saw them together, so he knew ahead of time. Like he knew beforehand because he saw them. Her mom, on the other hand, was not quite as supportive.
No.
I didn't quite understand what, because when she found out that her new stepmom was pregnant, it was like a huge thing. I mean, it was like a big deal, and I wasn't quite sure like what that was all about, like why that was such a huge thing.
I would imagine that it's probably just like a societal thing where,
Right, that's what I assumed, but
yeah, that it looks bad on her that she's a divorced woman and now he's with someone else younger and having a kid.
Right, and it was a boy too, which I'm sure has even bigger implications.
Now her daughter's gay too. You know, she's
falling apart.
She's just the devil's everywhere.
Yeah, overall I thought it was really solid though. Definitely give this a recommendation.
Same here. And the other thing that kind of made it even more excited to see this is I was already excited for it, been waiting for it, and then news came out that Wanuri, the director of this movie, is going to be teaming up and adapting Octavia Butler's Wild Seed for Amazon. So I was excited to see what she does here, and kind of to get some excitement brewed up to see her tackle sci-fi stuff on Amazon. Which, man, the colors and stuff, that vibrancy, that should be fun.
Yeah, certainly. I hope so. Any final thoughts before we give this a score?
No.
Yeah, I would say check it out. This is playing limited release right now. I'm not sure what the VOD schedule looks like for this. But if it is playing in your area, I would say check it out. I'm going to give this I'm sitting at like a 7.5, maybe 7.5 on this for me.
Okay. Oh, I do have one because they talked about it a couple of times, but never really said who they are. Samantha Mogazio, who plays Kenna, she's fantastic, as is Shili Muniva, who plays Ziki. I think they really hold the whole thing together.
Yeah, they're both fantastic.
So I think I'm with you. I think 7.5. I'm gonna go with 2. I'm gonna lock it in.
Again, that's Rafiki. All right, let's talk about someone we're watching. Kevin, I think it's your turn this week.
I have not watched that much.
Uh-oh.
Because 2 of my prime days, I don't have internet.
Yeah.
And, which sucks because I had plans.
Big plans. I
had so many options and didn't really get any of them to work out for me. But I was able to see a couple shorts before my world fell apart internet wise. And this was, since we talked a little bit about YouTube, I watched something on YouTube and YouTube instantly reminded me why it's trash. I watched a short film called Doing What They Love. It's this short music doc about this program in Sudan where all these musicians, different types of musicians, all different backgrounds, different ages, they get together for about like 2 weeks. They just get together and they kind of rehearse and try things out, and they're all playing with each other. And they all, different styles of music. You got beat makers, you got jazz artists, you got singers, all sorts of people just kind of jamming together, see what they come up with. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, they kind of put on this concert where they get to actually like up on a stage and actually perform for a crowd and everything. So kind of just like following them around. And the one is really interesting because they're talking to this guy and he has a really bad stammer. Like he has a real difficulty in getting words out, right? Like he's got to spit them out. And he's talking about how like music helps him and everything. And I'm kind of thinking, because I'm an idiot, I'm like, oh, he's like a guitar player or something, And then he's talking about like how the beat kind of slaps him on the back of the head and kind of takes his stammer away. So it immediately cuts to him rapping in Arabic. And like not only is he a good rapper, but he's like a fast rapper too.
Huh.
And it was just incredible to see like, okay, here's this guy that has to say like one sentence would take him, like half a minute. And then here he is next shot, just riding a beat like crazy. It's really good doc. Should check it out. And it's interesting because it's the way that it's shot and everything and the way that it kind of goes, because they tie it into like Sudan as a country and everything. So it has this Guava Island vibe. And I don't know if it was just because I watched that like a couple of days beforehand, but it was everything that Guava Island was trying to do and failed miserably at. And they just did it effortlessly because they're actually doing it.
Well, what at the beginning of this, you mentioned something about YouTube being bad.
So I click on the thing, takes me to YouTube, start watching, and the upper right where it's like, I guess it's like their auto playlist or whatever, and it's just like the suggested video next for me to watch. It was like something about like the myth of slavery.
Oh God.
And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Like
what the fuck? Why is that my like all I do is watch music videos usually.
Yeah, the YouTube algorithm is it's not the best.
It's oh God.
I saw Hellboy, finally caught up with this. I read I didn't read any reviews, but I saw that it was being completely eviscerated. Some people on my timeline saw it and weren't too fond of it, but from what people were saying, it sounded like it was just this kind of over the top, just turn off your brain, have a good time with it. And I can tell you, you do turn off your brain, but it is not a good time. I love Neil. First of all, I'll preface by saying I've liked almost everything Neil Marshall has done. I'm a big fan of this director. And even the movies that critics weren't fond of, like Doomsday, I was a huge fan. I love Doomsday. Obviously, The Descent is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And his other movies are really great too, like Dog Soldiers and Centurion. So I went in with an open mind. I went in thinking this is going to be a B movie. It's just going to be dumb, gory fun. And it is extremely gory. Holy crap. This movie is so over the top with the gore. And that aspect of it, yeah, it is kind of fun. But the thing is, everything else in this movie is so poorly done. It is so bad. I don't know exactly what happened. I think a lot of the problems occurred in the editing room for this movie. The editing is so atrocious. I couldn't even believe what I was watching at times. Poorly paced, just scenes stitched together that don't fit. I liked David Harbour as Hellboy. I thought that he played a good Hellboy. I know a lot of people were like, who can replace Ron Perlman? And I still think that at the end of the day, Ron Perlman might be the better Hellboy, but I did like to see this sort of edgier R-rated version of the character on screen. But man, it's very, very bad. Very, very bad. The problem is it takes itself way too seriously. Like the character of Hellboy is always sort of joking around and he's like always wisecracking and stuff, but the rest of the movie is just so serious. And the very, very final scene in the movie, which sort of sets things up for a possible sequel, that scene, that final action scene, which is sort of just like a footnote. It's just a thing that they put at the end that doesn't really have any relevancy to the rest of the movie. That is fun, and they do play that for just over the top gory fun. But all the other set pieces and all the other scenes don't play out that way. So yeah, I can't recommend Hellboy at all. Like I was kind of expecting a Punisher Warzone situation where everybody hated Punisher Warzone and I liked it. I thought it was so ridiculous and fun, but this is not that. This is actually, in a lot of ways, it's pretty boring. Some of the effects work is really good. Some of it is god awful. There's a scene where he goes up against the Baba Yaga, and that like the makeup combined with the CG, it was like sort of this hybrid of like some of it was CG, some of it was practical. That was like really good, very creepy character. And a lot of the other characters that pop up look really good. Some of the creature design is very creative and very, very cool. Sort of, I mean, this is obviously separate from the Guillermo del Toro Hellboy movies, but it also seems to draw inspiration from some of his characters. So a lot of the creature design is really cool, but also the CG is a little bit of a mixed bag.
Mm.
So yeah, again, can't recommend Hellboy.
Mm. Yeah, I think anytime that you watch a movie that you really dislike, for you, I can get a lot out of if you do that deep sigh that you always tend to do. That tells me everything. That tells me everything I need.
Yep.
It's like, that's a very succinct form of criticism. Just to hear that deep Adam sigh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I know everything. He said it all right there. Another short that I watched, which I think you would enjoy this one. It's called In Dog Years.
Oh, I've seen this.
Oh, you did? You did see it?
Yeah.
Man, this is directed by Sophie Ramvari. And man, Guinness puts those doggles on.
The doggles are great.
Oh my God. Because at first, Mango, who opens up the film, just an old soul.
I figured Mango would be your favorite because Mango sort of has that schnauzer.
You kind of have
look a little bit. He's a mixed breed, but he definitely has that sort of look.
And he even has that like old, like long gray beard. Where he just looks so wise, and it's so curious about the camera.
Yeah, he's 20 years old too.
Yeah. He seemed pretty spry for 20 years old.
I know, right? Like 20 years old, that is a very old dog.
Yeah. And he's still getting around. He's still walking around the shop, getting up in the camera, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the thing I like the most about Ramvari's like dog docs, because the one that she did beforehand was called Norman, which was about her own dog. It was an old dog, and it was kind of about mortality and everything, and kind of what she's doing here, but with other people's dogs. But the camera's always on the dog, which I just like. You know, these dogs just kind of oblivious to what everyone else is talking about, which is them and their mortality and everything. And these dogs are just wandering around, just relaxing, getting up in that camera, putting doggles on. Getting eaten by kittens.
Yeah.
Ah, goddamn dogs.
So just to clarify a little bit. It's a short documentary about elder dogs in their elder years.
Yeah, she just essentially, talks to the owners, about kind of, a little bit of everything, what the dogs mean to them. A lot of them don't really want to talk about what's going to happen to the dogs, which they know is going to happen at some point in the very near future.
Yeah. Yep. I liked Jack, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I liked them all, but
I didn't dislike any of the dogs. But Mango and Guinness, because it was all Mango, but then Guinness put on the doggles. And I didn't know that was a thing. And it was incredible because Guinness seemed to love those goggles.
yeah, it's like an 11-minute short. So if you're a dog lover, I'd say check it out. Although expect to be brought to tears by the end. At least I was.
Yeah. Which I don't know. I think I might have talked about this, but one of the main things, or one of the main reasons I didn't want to get a dog is because of thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to do it at some point.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's a very tricky thing. It's I mean, the way that I look at it, it's a trade-off, right? Like you will inevitably have to deal with that, but you have to look at the years of joy that it will provide for you.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing that because my dog's argument to that was essentially jumping around like a goat. And I was like, good point.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, great little short. I saw Police Story 1 and 2.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is the first time I've ever seen Police Story 1 or 2.
Okay.
And I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that it took me this long to watch the first two Police Story movies. Police Story 3 is Super Cop, so that came out here in America. So I saw that years ago, but I am going to revisit it. I'm planning on getting through the whole Police Story series. This sort of came about in a number of ways. Actually, Ryan watches a movie. We had him watch Rumble in the Bronx, so I rewatched that, and it sort of reignited the spark of me loving Jackie Chan movies. And it just so happened that Criterion is releasing Police Story 1 and 2, and they were kind enough to send me a copy. And man, holy crap. Police Story, if you haven't seen it, this is like Jackie Chan's masterpiece. This is the movie that, so if you're not super familiar with his like career trajectory, he was making a lot of Hong Kong movies with like Sammo Hung, and doing these kind of comedy action movies that weren't really his. Like he was doing them with like, his troupe of actors, and they weren't really his own movies. And then he ended up coming to Hollywood, and he did Cannonball Run. He was in that, and he did this movie, I think it was called like The Protector or something like that, and it was like very bad. And he was just sort of disheartened by the industry, and he went back to Hong Kong, and he's like, all right, I'm just going to do my own movie. And so he did Police Story, and he directed it. He even did the music himself. He sang the theme song. He stars in it. He did all the, obviously he did all the stunt choreography and everything. I mean, this is like his movie through and through. And it's the first movie where he introduces a lot of, I mean, this is like the first one that really accentuates his style and what would, be sort of his trademark for movies, his movies going forward, where, we talked about it on Ryan Watches Movie, where like his style is more of like a defensive style, where he's trying to avoid conflict as much as possible. This is the one that started that. This is the one that started him putting the outtakes in at the end of the movie and during the credits. And Man, I gotta say, some of the set pieces and some of the stunts in this movie are jaw dropping. Like, just insane, some of the stuff that happens. And when you're watching it, you're just like, that's real. Like, what I'm watching is real. People are getting hurt. I know that people are getting hurt during this. Like, this is so out of control. And like, I learned first of all, I'll have a review for the Blu-ray set in probably next week. But a lot of the special features, and it is loaded with special features, they talk about, how they make these movies and stuff. And like, a lot of it, because we're used to Hollywood movies being very safe, lots of insurance, lots of stunt doubles and stuff like that, lots of wires, everything's all camera tricks and stuff. But Jackie Chan movies are not like that at all. Like, he just, like, when they break glass and stuff, like, it's real glass. Like, they just use real glass. They don't use like fake glass. And when you see Police Story, you'll just be like, oh my God, because there's a scene in the mall where so much glass is being shattered everywhere. It's wild. And it
seems so dangerous.
Yeah. And they just have this thing about it. Like, in their fight scenes, like, they don't, if Jackie Chan is punching you, it's not like he's shadow punching you. He actually makes contact. And that's like one of the things that he wanted to do that was really important to him when making his movies, is the audience should be able to feel the impact of the punch or the kick. So they, instead of like pretending to hit somebody, you actually hit somebody. And he just has people wear pads and stuff, or he has like special shoes. So if you're kicking somebody in the face, they wear these like shoes that look like regular shoes, but they just have extra padding in them so that when you make impact, it doesn't hurt as much.
Oh yeah, sure.
I mean, that being said, I'm not going to be signing up to get kicked in the face by Jackie Chan.
No.
It's
I just love that idea of like, I wonder if that's how he sold his movie, the idea of his movie. He's like, hey, you know how, most martial arts movies and stuff, you don't actually hit the person, you just kind of like shadow punch and stuff. And they're like, yeah. He's like, well, in mine, how about I actually do kick you in the face?
And the other thing is, like, when, like, starting with Police Story, I mean, maybe a couple of his earlier ones too, but I'm pretty sure Police Story was the first one where he uses his own team. Like, this is when I think he started his stunt team in 1977. And so, like, when he made Police Story in 85, all of the people are his own team. So you have this, like, just really, all of the action is like sort of uniform and it all fits together just so perfectly. And same with Police Story 4 or 2. There's this really great action scene that's on a playground, and it's just, when you're watching it, you're just like, oh my God. Like, oh my God, how are these people still walking after this? It's really mind blowing. There's also a scene in Police Story that involves a car chase through this like shanty town that's like built on the side of a mountain. And so there's just like 4 cars that are just barreling through this town, like through houses and stuff. And there's like explosions. When you see it, you're just like, that is incredible. I don't understand how they shot that. So Police Story 2, highly recommend checking them out if you haven't seen them. I think Police Story 1 is my new favorite Jackie Chan movie.
All right. Did a rewatch. What kind of a rewatch? I don't know if I actually ever saw the whole thing first time around. But Nora Ephron's Julie and Julia.
All right.
So this is on Netflix. Couldn't pick something to watch. My wife threw it out there. And I was like, you know what? I'll do it. Let's do it. I don't care. I like food. I like Julia Child. And this is actually Really interesting. I really like the structure of this, where it's essentially two biopics in one,
Yeah.
and how they twist them together.
Yeah, it was like Julia Childs and then the person writing the book, right?
Well, there's essentially what they do is half of it's a Julia Child biopic where it's her and her husband, played by Stanley Tucci, where when they go to Paris in the 50s to live there, and she's kind of like trying to find something to do, and then she ends up taking this cooking class, which is usually for professionals, and they're all men. She's the first woman to be there, so it's kind of about that, and then like her like writing a cookbook for Americans about French cooking and everything. So you have that, and then in the present day, the 2002, Amy Adams is playing Julie Powell, who starts a blog because she just wants to do something, and she cooks her way through the entirety of
That's right. Yeah.
Julia Child's first cookbook. So, and then they kind of jump back and forth, which they do a really good job of tying it, switching back and forth between the two timelines. And Meryl Streep is really funny as Julia Child. I was actually cracking up a good bit. There's a ridiculous scene where she first learns how to chop up onions. So I guess she's practicing at home, and she's just chopping up like 60 onions. It's just a mountain of onions. And Stanley Tucci comes home, and they're kind of like quipping back and forth, but also crying at the same time because it's 8,000 onions being chopped. It's a good time. Good time. I enjoyed it.
That's all I have. I've been pre-gaming some Tribeca stuff that I can't talk about quite yet, but stay tuned because I'll be circling back. All right, let's talk about some new releases in theaters this week. We have Carmine Street Guitars. I think it's a rock doc.
Of course it is.
We have the big one, Avengers Endgame.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, pretty excited for this. I'm not like over the moon about it. It's like, I don't know.
Is it?
I'm sure I'll like it.
Is it Avengers fatigue?
I think so. I think it's just a little bit of the old superhero fatigue that I'm having.
It's like every weekend, just about.
I'm sure it'll be good though. It looks good. It looks. I mean, a lot of like everything in the Avengers world has been sort of culminating into this one final showdown. Runtime's 3 hours. So it's a little daunting, but hopefully it's good. And we also have The White Crow coming out along with Body at Brighton Rock, JT Leroy, or Leroy, I guess. Oh, there's not a lot coming out this week.
No, yeah.
An animated movie called Chloe, I Trap the Devil, which is this sort of lo-fi horror movie about a guy who believes he trapped the devil in his house.
Nice.
Yeah, it's decent. It's with AJ Bowen, and that's pretty much it for theaters.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, everybody's getting out of the way of Avengers.
True.
Even the smaller indies are just like, nope, not going to touch that. On VOD this week, on Tuesday we have Naples in Veils, Hagazusa.
What Hagazusa?
Yeah, hitting VOD. Heard good things. Still haven't seen it yet, but I'm gonna try to catch it maybe today if I can. Patrimonio. On the 24th, we have Sprinter.
Oh, okay.
So running.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Running
sure doc, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a doc. I think it might be a doc. A Rastafarian teenager in Philadelphia hopes to qualify for the national youth track team for the World Youth Championships.
Okay.
Sounds like a doc.
At first, I thought you were saying the title for the next film, and about 9 words into it, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is a long title.
That's a long-ass title. And then on Friday, we have I Trapped the Devil, Body at Brighton Rock, JT Leroy, and that's about it for VOD. Blu-ray, we have some new releases, some re-releases of the Avengers stuff. So we have like Captain America coming out in 4K. So we have Winter Soldier, Civil War coming out in 4K. Alien from 1979 is coming out on 4K. The Witch is coming out on 4K. Arrow is releasing Scared Stiff from 1987. Talked about that a couple weeks ago. Escape Room is coming out on Blu-ray. Not a big fan of that one. Bisbee 17.
Oh, okay. Been waiting a while for that one.
Yeah. That's about all I have. What about Criterion's?
Not a whole lot of DVDs coming out either.
Nope. Jeez.
The one Criterion coming out, that's 1957's A Face in the Crowd. The old Andy Griffith. This is a great movie, by the way. If you've never seen it, check it out. See Andy Griffith in a different light. And you got some new interviews in there. Got a documentary from 2005. It's a little light on the special features, but, whatever.
Cool. Might have to give that a look. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @FilmPulseNet and @FilmPulseKevin. If you have a minute, take a look at our Patreon page, patreon.com/FilmPulse. Consider helping us out by becoming a subscriber. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.